Welcome everyone to another BCM Wednesday webinar. This week we are really fortunate for you all to meet our new executive director, Andrew Zaro. Andrew, one wave. No, screen it. So today we're going to take a half hour for Andrew to talk about a little bit of his history, where we're at as BCM, where we hope to go, and hopefully have some time for some questions at the end. If you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, or wait till the end, and you can use the raise your hand function below. But with that, I'll have Andrew take it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. I hear myself, which is not my favorite thing to do. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Cool to see some familiar faces from people I was just in a meeting with for a few hours this morning. And I'm really excited to be here and connect with folks in this capacity and in lots of other ways moving forward. Again, my name is Andrew Zaro. I'm the new executive director of the Bicycle Coalition of Maine. I'm absolutely thrilled to join this organization as the new director. It's truly an honor for me to step into this role for such an exciting time for BCM, for the coalition, and for our mission. I'm just about 3.5 weeks in, but time is a funny thing, especially when you're diving into a new organization in a new year. This moment really matters, I think, for me and for our organization for a couple of ways. But for me, I'm looking at it that we're not just maintaining the work that BCM has done so well over the years and it is known nationwide for. But we're also launching into a new bold chapter. BCM, right before I joined the board, adopted a new 4-year strategic plan that will be rolling out in the next month and a half. And I'll be inviting all of you to join us to learn more and celebrate that. But this is a moment of expansion, of innovation, and of reimagining what's possible for biking and walking and rolling across the state of Maine. For me, my personal connection, cycling has always been more than just a mode of transportation for me, even though I like the convenience of being able to be a commuter. One of the reasons I love where I live in Portland is because it's easy to get around, and I can feel, for the most part, like I can do it safely. It's not just transportation, it's connecting with people, it's connecting with our community and nature, our sense of freedom, our sense of possibility. I keep saying to everyone and our awesome staff here at the coalition that biking is joy. For me, and I think most people feel that as well. If you ask someone their story of why they're drawn to this organization, they usually end up on joy in some capacity. And I think that's something that I really aspire to cultivate in my new role here. But yeah, I've in a couple of other capacities. I was the chair of the Sustainability and Transportation Committee for the Portland City Council for a couple of years and really prioritized active transportation policies in the city of Portland and advocated some big, bold initiatives, like putting the Franklin Street project on an agenda, changing State and High Street to two-way for a complete streets model, working very closely with the community to hear their concerns of what works and what doesn't about getting around the greater Portland area. Then I went over to the Greater Portland Council of Governments, where I got to work closely on Vision Zero and with municipal electeds in the Greater Portland region, essentially on what their needs were around things like housing, climate, and transportation and infrastructure. And while I do think that we've made strides in the years, certainly in the last decade, we can point to some wins. There's a lot more to do, and I think for me, what really called me to join the BCM was that I think this organization is so uniquely positioned to move the needle with the coalition that it pulls the state and municipal government closer to action, works with community stakeholders, major partners. So I'm excited if you haven't picked up on that already. I think it's very evident to us here and many of you watching that the world is changing, and so is Maine. And the demand for those safer streets, better infrastructure, And those meaningful connections I just alluded to through active transportation has honestly never been greater. It feels more tangible to me now than ever before. People are craving healthier and more sustainable ways to live and move around their communities and with other communities. And BCM is here to lead that charge. That, I think, is at the core of what this next chapter looks like for us. My vision for growth is obviously influenced by the work that those who have come before me at BCM have done and that our amazing staff work on every day. But stepping into this new strategic plan, for me, it's more than just a document. I can throw a PDF on our website today. That's not going to mean anything. It's our commitment to creating that future where nobody has fear of biking or walking in their community, whether it's Portland, Fort Kent, Kittery, Bethel, MDI, you name it. I want that same sentiment to exist for all of them. It's a future where biking isn't just recreational, but it's a viable everyday choice for everybody. They don't have to have a car or have access to one to get around. So please stay tuned for that announcement for the rollout for our strategic plan. We're planning something special. It's going to be a week-long celebration. It's going to include an open house, some opportunities to connect with each other and with our community and our staff, and several interactive gatherings. So I'm trying to time it so it's a little bit warmer. I keep asking people to go for rides with me, but everyone keeps telling me it's too cold, which is okay. It was 0 degrees this morning. I'm going to do a little overview excuse me, of some of our priorities this year for our work plan in the context of growth and the bigger vision. So I'll start with our core. Dan is a big part of this. This is education, building skills and confidence. So we're growing our education programs to meet the needs of more people and in more places, right? So we are a statewide organization. We're small but scrappy. So that means that it's important for us to hit every county in Maine and, one day every community that is ready to work with us. So from teaching adults how to ride for the first time or equipping kids with their lifelong biking skills, we're creating opportunities for everyone to feel confident on 2 and sometimes 3 wheels. This year we're going to look at expanding some popular initiatives like Fix-A-Bike workshops and even launching some new programs and expanding some existing programs like our e-bike demos, which are really popular. And we do that in partnership with, with the DOT, Department of Transportation. I think our overall goal is to show how important the power of cycling is through our education programs. Sometimes it feels like, and Dan can speak to this far greater than I, there's just never enough. Like we can never do enough because there's so much demand to connect with communities around education. And I think that ties very nicely into our next pillar, which is our advocacy and amplifying our voice. This is nothing new to BCM. We've been an advocacy organization for quite some time, but I think we are now laser focused on making Maine a leader in active transportation. We've already started that in our education programming, but this means in advocacy, advocating for policies that are prioritizing safety, obviously, working in the climate change space and climate change mitigation in the context of the Maine Won't Wait Climate Action Plan, and really advocating to bring more funding to bike and pedestrian infrastructure. And so that's a big one because that one's very subjective to municipal government itself. So working closely with community leaders in making those advocacy requests and those collaborations so that it makes sense, right? So what Portland's infrastructure needs are going to be different from Kennebunk's, are going to be different from, Elliott's, and so on and so forth. So finding those local champions in advocacy to connect with folks. I don't know if any of you saw, I wrote an op-ed in the Press Herald this week on Vision Zero and how, we are going to be working very closely with partners this year on advocating for the adoption of Vision Zero in municipalities across the state of Maine. Community engagement, again, exploring and expanding our reach at BCM. This is something that we, like many statewide small organizations, have to find a balance on. But for me, as the new director, entering an organization that's about as old as I am, reconnecting with members of the communities that we serve, reconnecting with people who were a big part of BCM's tapestry in the past, but maybe aren't as engaged. I keep saying I want to put the coalition back in the Bicycle Coalition of Maine. And we do that through relationships, through connection, and through partnerships. New partnerships as well, schools, businesses, local organizations, municipalities, some that we've never worked for, some that we haven't worked with in a long time. From Lewiston and to rural towns in the state, like you name it, we're already working on, you'll probably get an email today or tomorrow. You're about to see me all over the state of Maine at breweries and other places, meeting with members in their community, meeting people where they are at so that we can engage them, listen to what matters most to them, what's working, what's not, how can we re-engage them. So, really going to people's doorsteps. It's going to take a little while. Maine is a big state. And I'm trying my best, just started, but it's really important to me in these first few months that I get out there as much as possible. So if any of you know folks, or if your community, you want to, host us, have us visit, please reach out. It's something I'm really excited to do, actually. And then other examples of community engagement, just again, expanding our existing program, our Earn a Bike program. It's exciting to imagine how kids and adults are gaining independence and confidence, like through these programs. It's a very special feeling, and it's an honor for us to be a part of it. Lastly, just prioritizing organizational development and strengthening the foundation of BCM. For us to grow, we need a strong foundation. The last four and a half years have been really challenging for everyone going through the pandemic. Small businesses, small organizations, even large ones had to really pivot how they operated and existed. And I think years later, a lot of organizations are looking at their mission and who they are and saying, wait a minute, are we still what we were before the pandemic? So for me, obviously, executive director, my job is to raise funds for the organization so that we can do the work. But it's also to create that true sense of community for our members and our supporters to answer the question of, well, what does BCM mean to me? So this year, I'm going to be working with my staff and my board to launch new ways to engage folks, special events. Listen, it's in the blood of the Bicycle Coalition of Maine. We've pared down events over the last few years, but it's one of the things that I think I hear the most from members is how can we re-engage in events and share space, member meetups, opportunities, again, shaping advocacy. So the call to action, I think, is going to be, and I've started to allude to it, but this is where all of you listening come in. And when you're talking to members of your community who are mission and value aligned, the coalition has always been powered by its people, by its members, by individuals like you who believe that safer streets and make stronger communities. You're the heartbeat of BCM, and that is something that not a lot of organizations can point to and say that they have such a strong membership. So together, I'm very confident that 2025 is going to be a landmark year for this organization. So you're going to hear a lot of the similar things from me every time you see me walking around or biking around, asking you to join us as a volunteer, whether you were a volunteer and you're coming back or a new volunteer. That could be in the form of teaching a workshop, doing an educational program, leading a ride for us, shaping and sharing stories with legislators. I'm going to be asking folks to sign up for our programs, bring a friend, bring two friends, spread the word. Your voice and your energy are going to make all the difference in us actually achieving our goals in our mission and our strategic plan. And then I'm going to be asking people pretty consistently, hey, are you a member? Would you consider being a member? Would you consider being a donor or increasing your support? Every dollar that we get from our supporters fuels our programs and our advocacy. It helps us reach our communities. It helps us do what we do better. And for me, I think access and equity in that are really important. $5 monthly donor is just as important as someone who's going to write a check for $5,000. They're showing up in the ways that matter most to them. The vision and the mission of the organization means something to both of those people. And even if you can't give $5, that's okay. Join a committee, help us, help work with me and my team on connecting with folks. I really believe organizations like BCM exist for everyone. And, being really transparent upfront about that is exactly how we're going to grow and expand our impact. Again, it's not going to change the fact that in my role, I'm going to be working with partners in the community to fundraise, but I want us to deconstruct what that does and does not look like. So our immediate actions for growth, how am I in time? I'm all right. Our immediate actions for growth, again, this year we're building momentum. You're going to see us piloting some new programs. We're going to be expanding some staff opportunities to, specific to some of the work we're rolling out. Again, connecting more with our communities. I would hope more than ever before. But our work is about growth. It's about reaching more people. It's about creating more safe spaces. It's about inspiring a culture where biking and walking thrive, not just in our office, but in every community. And I think that's what I'm most excited about, is getting out to those communities and engaging the community around that culture. It feels exciting. It's not just because that's my personality and I'm excited about this mission. I've been talking to a lot of people and listening to staff and talking to some partners. People seem excited. People seem like they want to put that energy into something in our coalition. And it's not just about me having a to-do list and getting things done, although that is something that I tend to do often. It's about sparking this movement again. It's about imagining a Maine again where everyone feels safe and empowered to bike and walk and roll wherever they need to go. And I really believe we're going to make that a reality together. So obviously I have just talked so much. I've told you, a big picture, what I'm hoping to accomplish. I've talked about, what my connection is and what's sparking joy for me. But really what I want to know is, I'm seeing some familiar names and some new names on this call. I want to know what you want. I want to know how the BCM is going to be a partner to you, and how we can help, how we can work together to achieve not only our goals, but to maybe do the same thing for you in your work as well. So what I think I'm going to do with a thumbs up from my team is ask if anyone has any questions, or if they just want to talk about something relevant to the Bicycle Coalition of Maine that they're excited about or are curious in learning more.
Hey, I just thought it might be a good opportunity. I appreciated your op-ed the other day about the Vision Zero efforts. Thought it might be a good opportunity to sort of bring that up in context of both the state and here in Portland and then the region. I know that's something that we are likely to be advocating for in the very near future. It looks like S&T will be meeting, I think it's the 11th of February. And so it'd be a good time to get in some commentary if anybody hasn't done that yet. So I just thought I'd throw that topic up and stuff.
Yeah, Carrie, I appreciate it. Thank you. I was waiting for you to talk about how we could collaborate together on putting public toilets downtown. We could do a bike tour. So Gary did, excuse me, mention that we had an op-ed that I wrote the other day in the Press Herald. It was an opinion piece on Vision Zero and how Vision Zero can protect Maine's pedestrians from the recent fatalities that we've experienced in Maine. In my first week and a half as the director of BCM, I wrote 3 press releases about crashes that resulted in fatalities or a major injury. And since then, there have already been 2 more. Most of these, if not all of them, have been in crosswalks with pedestrians who are just trying to navigate their communities. And they unfortunately, it's a tragedy that is extremely avoidable. So we are working on the back end a little bit on, obviously, education is a core part of our work. But from the advocacy perspective, working with municipalities, but also working in the state legislature to do accomplish a better job of identifying crash data, how crash data is collected, so that we can learn more how it's perceived. It's a pretty vague process right now, a little bit subjective depending on the municipality and who's responding. But I think a lot of this goes back to the principles of Vision Zero. And again, Vision Zero is for a good example is Hoboken, New Jersey. The goal is to have 0 deaths in a community for pedestrians and cyclists. The article was specifically for pedestrians because that was what we were dealing with in this unique situation. But there's a lot that you can actually do in implementing Vision Zero in your community, whether it's a metropolitan or rural community or suburban. That can be anything like streetscaping, so bump outs, effective lighting, safe sidewalks, having flashing signs at crosswalks, any opportunity to bring the attention and the visibility on the pedestrian, on the cyclist, so that the car, the driver of an automobile isn't, you can get more and more strict by doing, designated, separated bike lanes, that sort of thing. But at the very core of it, it's how are you building your community and the infrastructure of how people are getting around in a way that is safe. I talked at the beginning of this about how I want to create that sense of safety in every community. I want to, remove the fear that pedestrians and cyclists have as they're navigating their community. I mean, that's terrible. We shouldn't create that for people who are just trying to move about. So we're tackling this from an advocacy perspective, working with municipalities of, hey, what do you need from us to learn more so that you can get closer to implementing either a complete streets committee, a Vision Zero ordinance in your community, working closely with the Greater Portland Council of Governments, who have just launched and have a Vision Zero, basically template, a grab and go for municipalities to work from. I mean, there's a lot of energy and momentum around this, and I think it's important for BCM to be one of the major, we have the opportunity to be one of the major proponents of implementing this. So we will be working very closely, obviously, with Portland and the other municipalities throughout the state of Maine. Again, we are a statewide organization, but it does make sense that we're going to see more of this sort of happening at the major population centers. And then from the education component, I think it's going to be a priority for us, not just to, wag our finger and say, you're not doing it, you should do it this way, but to go and work with people, boots on the ground, and show them through demonstrations, through visualization, which is a really powerful tool, the importance and the impact of what does it mean? What does a 3-foot bump out look like? Or what does it look like when you have street lighting that's actually gonna make the pedestrian more visible? So it's a long way of saying that we're going to be doing more of that this year. I think that the coalition is really aligned from a lot of stakeholders who really, I think people are ready to fix this, because it's just, again, it is one of the most unnecessary tragedies that we are watching. And I wish I had an answer for you about how many more press releases I'll be writing by the end of this week or this month. It's just, it has to stop, and we're going to be working hard to do that. Thank you, Sylvia. You and everyone else who has emailed me or called me or I've had a coffee with. Events, again, I said, are a part of the DNA of the Bicycle Coalition of Maine. Events are what was my first interaction with BCM, actually, over 10 years ago. We, over the years, have pared it down. I don't want to overpromise. I also want to get you to come to our open house in March. So I don't want to give you too much right now, but I will say that we've been having internal conversations about some new events that we think are going to be really exciting, that we've heard from our members. They're going to call people to plug in and get excited. And then we've had some serious conversations about some old events that might be making a comeback. That being said, it's all within the context of sponsorship, fundraising, and re-engaging our membership. It's really important to me that we build a strong foundation before we do a big expansion. I don't want to grow for the sake of growing. I want us to grow into areas with events that make sense to us, that our members want. So what I will ask, if you're interested, I'll type my email. Well, just andrew@bikemaine.org. I actually want to hear from everyone on what event do you want to see? We're going to be sending a member survey out shortly. And it's, thank you for typing that in. We're going to be sending a member survey out shortly. Big picture, like what do you like? What do you want to see? And I want to hear from our members. I will say that I don't know if any of you saw it. My first weekend, I sent this email out to our whole membership saying, it's been a week. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I learned. And I got a lot of response, and probably 90% of those emails were about events. So hear folks loud and clear. It's something that I'm excited about. And again, by our open house rollout in March. I will be able to actually tell you what to expect this year. So I hope that was helpful and not too vague. We have about 5 minutes left. If there's anything else folks want to talk about, or they're excited about, or they're curious to learn more.
I wanted to ask about, I guess this is events related, but I was wondering if BCM has ever done the week without driving. I think it's in October. Maybe it's run by America Walks, or it's just supported by them, but it's all about like how can we get people to do a week without driving? Something I'm really passionate about is trying to get people to transition to using bikes for their short errands. So within 2 miles, can we bike there or walk there? And I think that's something I think in Brunswick should be really possible. That's where I live. And the point of the week without driving is both for community members to kind of record how much trouble they had getting around that week without their car, but also to encourage town council members and leaders in the community to also try to force themselves to not drive for a week and see how it goes. I think that's a really cool thing to get both leadership and community members involved. So that would be an event I think would be really cool. I'll email you that as well, though.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was about to say, send me an email. So I know that this is something that staff have looked at before. This is something that I looked into when I was on the city council in Portland. We ended up doing like a much smaller version of it just because there was a capacity thing. But if that's something that, that's a good example of something that you're passionate about and you would want to work with us on, I see no reason why that can't be something that we collaborate with Brunswick or a couple of municipalities on. I love the idea of recording the data and the experience around what that was like. It sounds really tangible because it's that 2 mile radius. And I think it's, I used to try to do this as an elected, it was interesting, doing walking audits, doing biking audits, actually like navigating your municipality in one of those capacities. How few electeds do that, municipal or state, like it's almost impossible. So this would be a cool opportunity to engage with the Brunswick Town Council on this and get folks to really see their community in a different light. It's also a great opportunity for people to sort of bond around something of like, whoa, I never did that before, but now moving forward, I can start doing it. So great. You already answered the survey for me. Thanks, Amanda. If you wouldn't mind just sending me an email, or we can follow up with you individually. That would be awesome.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we're almost out of time. If there's another question or thought, we can take that. And if not, then I can release everyone to have the rest of their Wednesday. Okay. Well, I appreciate all of you taking a moment to share half an hour with us and listen to me talk about my big dreams and aspirations and our awesome team. Again, 2025 is going to be a year of growth for BCM. It's a year for us that we're going to expand our reach, amplify our voice, go for some new ideas like Amanda just shared, and expand the excitement around this movement. And I really look forward to working with everyone to imagine what we're going to achieve together and rally behind this vision for safer streets and stronger communities. So thank you again for your time, for your passion, for believing in BCM. I want you all to reach out to me if you haven't already, just to go for a ride, go for a walk, go for a coffee, whatever. I want to meet you in your community. And this is the year, 2025, that Maine's going to become a national leader in active transportation. And I'm honored to be in this work and this community with all of you. So thank you again. And I'll pass it back over to Dan.
So thank you everyone for coming out today. Our next Wednesday webinar will be February 5th, and we are fortunate enough to bring back a good friend of ours, Clara Brown, who's Maine's newest Olympic medalist, to talk about her experience at the Paralympic Games and what it takes to, be a world champion cyclist. So again, February 5th, thank you again, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you out there on the roads sometime when it's a bit warmer. Take care.